Makeup was the dream, right? And so I moved on to makeup school where I was not as much in contact with business. That kind of happened when I was in the depth of postpartum depression, that I had that light bulb moment of, hang on, when I feel horrible every day, if I have to go out, I actually know how to make myself look like I'm happy and healthy. People think that sensitive skin is a skin type. It isn't. Sensitive skin is not a skin type. It's a skin that has been overly sensitized, which now is really reactive. I wanted to bring people into your beauty is yours, it's innate. And you just have to figure out what beauty looks like for you, and nobody else can dictate that for you. And I'm just in love with what I'm creating right now.
Kia ora, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Soul to Soul. And today I've got goosebumps already. I am so blessed and honored to talk to someone who lives in the same country here in New Zealand, but we both were from neighboring countries. Amelie is originally from Belgium and has made the big step to move to New Zealand with her family. So, Amelie, welcome to Soul to Soul. How is your Tuesday morning going?
Bonjour, Sam. My Tuesday is going really, really well. I'm super excited to be here today. Thank you for having me. It's always nice to kind of meet neighbors, but on the other side of the world.
Yes, and now you're still like we've never met in real life, and I hope
Yeah.
that changes soon. You live in New Plymouth, for those people not aware. New Plymouth is in the North Island of New Zealand, and I live in Nelson, the South Island of New Zealand. Today, we're going to talk about many different things because to me, you're an inspiration on numerous fronts. But Amélie, you believe in clean beauty, and you told me that clean beauty is very different from natural beauty. So we will get there soon. How did you get into the beauty industry way back when?
Well, I fell in love with makeup when I was three, playing with my Barbie dolls. And I would steal my mom's makeup. I would add more onto my Barbie dolls. We all know that Barbies do not need more makeup on them, and my mom was absolutely not impressed with me. And my mom, she's a biochemistry engineer, so beauty is not a career. It could be a passion, but absolutely not a career. And so, I originally thought I would maybe work in business, in marketing, in import export for big beauty companies, that I could kind of still be in the beauty world because I just liked that. And then eventually I fought for my dream and I did decide to study it. And I had one of my auntie was the most put together person I knew. She had always beautiful nails. She wore makeup. My mom doesn't really wear makeup. And every time I would go and visit, she would curl my hair, she would do my makeup, and it was just very special. And she fought for me with my cousin, saying that, just let her be. Like she's allowed to enjoy having her hair curled and wearing lip glosses, etc. And she got me my first lip gloss. Uh, and it just really, I don't know, nurtured the passion, I guess. And then I really wanted to do makeup, but that was not a job. And so my mom said, if you want to do something, you're going to do beauty therapy because people's hair are always going to grow. And so you're always going to be needed to remove people's hair.
Right, yes.
And so I ended up studying beauty, and I did end up going to makeup school afterwards. So I did both schools. And yeah, that's how I ended up doing what I do today. But it was really because of my Barbies.
And having someone supportive in your family, right? Like if she wasn't there, who knows, maybe you just become the in an exporter of beauty products.
Well, I did go to uni first and I did do business. I cannot read a graphic for the life of me. So import export was just not gonna happen. I just had to be realistic with that one. And my aunt did pass away when I was quite young, so she wasn't there to kind of guide me through it. But yeah, she's still with me, and that one lip gloss that changed
Yes.
everything.
I love that you can so clearly remember that. And that might be, for people listening, supporting their children, it might be just that one handout that will just really shine that passion. So you went to beauty school. I mean, when I got married, I got my makeup done by an ex Parisian beauty person as well. So I know that in that part of the world, Belgium. Did you study in France as well? Like it's quite a prominent beauty schools are there. And what did that lead into? Did you just do it on your girlfriends, or did you actually make quite a career out of it?
So I was actually paid to do makeup before I ever started beauty school.
Wow.
I had my first paid gig before that, so I had a couple of paid gigs just for friends and family who would pay me for events, etc. Um, I studied beauty in Belgium and I studied makeup in France, so I went to both countries. I would not recommend driving across the border every day. Um, to go to school, 120 kilometers drive every morning and every night is a bit of a long commute, even with highways. So what did that lead to? So my mom was against me doing this, so I paid for my first year and she set a grade for me to hit so that she would pay for the second year. And I wasn't sure if she was going to pay for the second year, and I was all out of money. And so at the end of my first year of beauty school, I went to see my school director and I went, "Hey, am I allowed to work in the beauty industry over the summer, have that count towards my internship? And if so, would you have a place that you think I could apply?" Uh, and so she said, "I can do you one better. I can actually get you a job interview." Because I was a good student and I think I fitted, is that a word? What she wanted her dream students to be. And so she got me a job interview at one of the niche cosmetics and one of the best skin clinic in Brussels on Avenue Louise, which is the equivalent of the Champs-Élysées, but in Brussels. So I got a job interview. I got the job, and I was the mani-pedi girl there. And that is where I met actually the person who got me to fall in love with skin
Oh, wow.
and with doing facials, etc. Because I really hated them before that. And she was great. She was, oh gosh, she was fantastic. She was an educator for a skincare brand, and she really taught me that there was the need of a brain in the beauty industry. I don't know if that makes sense. But with, the perspective that my mum had, I was just convinced that it was a bit of a failure to study beauty. And then when I dove into histology and into how products interact with one another, so I was like, no, actually, this needs a bit of a brain. So I think that answers your
Yeah,
question.
no, it's good. So you went from being the intern over summer, I guess, and then were you, so that's where you got to love the facials
Yes.
and looking after the person on the table or the bed. But then I think I read that you have done like movie sets and TV sets. So that's quite
Yes.
extreme. Like if you think about your day to day, I'm putting some makeup on to go to work or even out to a dinner. But then when you look at actors and actresses, special effects, to me that takes the use of makeup to another level again. So how was that experience?
Well, that happened after.
Right.
So that happened when I was in makeup school, not when I was in beauty school. So from that first internship at Centre d'Ailleurs, I moved and I did an internship at a spa, at a five-star resort spa, which was fantastic. And then I moved on to makeup school, and I got into makeup school knowing that I wanted to do special effects because when I saw Batman with Nicholson as the Joker, I was like, oh my God, I want to make people look like that. I had no clue who Jack Nicholson was at the time because I think, I don't know, I was maybe 13 when I saw that movie, something like that. And I just didn't realize that he's just that creepy. Like his face is just that creepy. And there was absolutely nothing but face paint to make his mouth that creepy. He's just that creepy. Which I found out, when I saw what's the name of the thing where he's in a hotel? The
I don't,
Shining, is
yeah,
that it?
I don't do
Yes.
those movies. Yes.
So yeah, he's just that creepy. And I had to find an internship when I was in makeup school. And we were at dinner. This is very random how I ended up on that movie set. Um, and I was just, my husband's, well, not husband, grandmother was asking me, so how's school going? Like, what are you doing at the moment? I was like, yeah, it's going good, but I need to find an internship. And I've got no idea where and how I'm going to do that because I want to be in the movie industry. So I want to have something in the movie industry. And I was like, but I don't know anybody in the movie industry, so I gotta make that happen. And then she went, oh, I can make that happen for you. And in my head, I was like, you're my boyfriend's grandmother. Like, A, how do you know somebody that is that cool? And B, that's really, really kind of you. And then so she gave me the phone number of her nephew, grandnephew, something like that, and told me to call him, saying that she sent me. And then I gave him a call, and turns out he is one of the experts in pyrotechnic special effects makeup, special effects in general on movie sets in Belgium. And so he put me in touch with Florence Tonnet, who's a fantastic makeup artist. And I gave her a call, and she was like, let's meet for coffee. Did we meet for coffee or did she just say yes? I can't even remember. And I ended up on an ad with her. It was like a 6 a.m. start. It was in the whoop whoops of Belgium. Had never been there in my life. Thank goodness there were signs. Um, yeah, and I saw her work, and then she ended up being the head makeup artist on the first movie set that I worked on. And so she gave me a call for many shoots after that. And fun fact, just before we moved to New Zealand, like literally 2 weeks before we moved to New Zealand, she gave me a call to offer me a first assistant makeup artist position on, I can't remember if it was one or two full-length movies back to back, which, I was 7 months out of school at that time. That was a dream come true.
Mm,
And I was just like, I got LASIK eye surgery like literally an hour ago. I just cannot see right now. And also in 2 weeks, I'm at the bottom of the world. So I'm gonna have to say no. And she was like, oh. And I was like, oh. And to this day, I still have that, So on the days, when like it's day 2 of my period and I'm feeling a bit fragile, I'm like, ah, all the what ifs.
yes. Yes.
But yes, I did work on movie sets, and I worked at some amusement parks for prosthetics, etc. during Halloween for special effects. It was quite cool.
Oh, I find it fascinating for those people who have watched movies like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. In Wellington, there definitely was, I haven't been there in a while, but there was the Weta workshop. And to me, special effects, Weta, it's just incredible what can be done. And now when I'm watching both series and movies, and you look at like the Jack Nicholson, yes, he's a scary person, but some other actors, you know them as one in one movie, and then in the next one, they have different colored eyes, their nose is bigger or smaller, they've got a fat chin or not. It's just what can be accomplished with special effects and all that prosthetics. I take my head off because I just put makeup on my eyes and I cross fingers that it stays there for the day. But of
And
course, you're dealing with sweat and heat or cold, and yeah, definitely need to use a brain when it comes to making sure that the glue stays and doesn't dribble off the faces.
there's also a lot more than that. Something that people don't consider as well. So first off is that my work is absolutely not comparable to what they do at Weta Workshop, right? I am very, very poorly equipped compared to what it is that they do. And obviously now I haven't done SFX makeup in a while, so I would probably be horrible at it. But something that people don't really realize that comes into play is the weight of a
Mm,
prosthetic. Because silicone is what's going to look the most natural on somebody's skin. It's what's going to move. It's right. It's what actually we use for realistic prosthetics on anything that's going to be filmed on, high definition to 4K. Because with the progress of cameras, special effects and makeup had to follow. And sometimes you need a prosthetics that's going to be too big, and so you cannot make it out of silicone, and that is where expendable foam or latex comes into play. I made a giant squid with each tentacule being taller than me. So I'm 1.65 m, and so each tentacle was taller than me. So the mold was bigger than me. But I was working with expendable foam, which expands up to X amount of time. The one I was using was 6 times. And I did have to spend about half an hour on the phone with my mum to figure out the formula to know how much of foam did I have to pour into my tentacule mold so that it would get all of the suckers without having air bubbles, and so that it would expand to the point of overflowing, but not completely like, vomiting over the edges. Sorry, that's a little bit too much detail in prosthetics, but yes. So there is a lot of math that goes into special effects as well, and taking into consideration the comfort of the actor
Mm.
is really important as well, because sometimes you do something and like, oh, that's a later problem for how I'm going to take it off. It's really not that later problem for you to have to take it off an actor when you're at the end of the shooting day and you got to do it again the next day. The actor who plays Gimli in The Lord of the Rings, he was actually terribly allergic to the glue of the prosthetics, and he still did it. And I'm just in awe of him because he must have been in such pain. Anyway, I can talk about special effects for a million years, but I'm just gonna.
It's just something that, not many people will have those kind of conversations. They might not know, there's different things. So thank you for sharing that part of your
You're
passion.
welcome.
It's I can hear and I can see that, yeah, it is something of a, in a way, a past life, but it's brought you to the person you are now. So you moved to New Zealand. I'm not quite familiar with your in, all the timeline properly in linear setup. Because when I do these types of conversation, I want it to be a conversation that anyone can relate to. I don't want to have too many scripted questions. But what has the Amélie that I know is the person that is for welcoming people in your beautiful cocoon, which is at your home in New Plymouth. You're sitting there right now. People can follow you on Instagram and they'll get more glimpses of how you prepare that space. But there you are now very much focused more on the clean beauty. So you've gone from using latex, silicone, paints that might not necessarily be the best for the skin to now really being an advocate for clean. So when did you realize that the things that you were putting on your face were not the greatest for you?
Well, it all started with my sister. When I started beauty school, my sister was like, "So are they telling you about what's in the products?" And I was like, "Who gives a shit?" And then my sister, my eldest sister, just kind of kept, reading labels at stores and going, "No, I'm not going to use this." Um, and then she got pregnant, and it was even like she was even more cautious as to what she was putting on her skin, etc. And I was just living my best life in beauty school and honestly just like completely ignoring this. And then when I did my second internship at one of the leading spa, I reacted to basically every single product that they were using to the point that I had eczema on my hands that was cracking and bleeding. So I was pulled from the treatment room and I was put at the front desk of that five-star spa in a very luxurious resort. And I was like, this is really not what I want to be doing. Like, I want to be hands-on people. Uh, and eventually it got so bad that I was actually just reacting by being in the spa. So I was pulled from there. Thank goodness I had, with my summer job and everything, I had enough hours to graduate. And at the time, I was not really fussed about it because makeup was the dream, right? And so I moved on to makeup school where I was not as much in contact with skincare products, so not as much with products that do penetrate the skin more. And I was just like, let's park that. It's fine. I'm never going to work in a treatment room again anymore because I'm going to be a makeup artist. Um, and then we moved to New Zealand. and I got pregnant 3 months after we moved. And I was working as a counter manager for Dermalogica at the time in Hamilton. Love Dermalogica as a brand. They're really not clean. They're really not natural or anything. But for people who have absolutely not reactive skin and who don't give a shit about clean beauty, it's a really awesome brand because it does deliver on its promises. And then same thing, my skin just started to react to everything under the sun. I had a really complicated pregnancy, had to quit my job. And then my skin kind of never went back to being soothed after my pregnancy. And I was just reacting to everything. Any perfume that I would try, I would get either cold sore or a rash or anything like that. And I knew I wanted to launch a business. That kind of happened when I was in the depth of postpartum depression, that I had that light bulb moment of, hang on, when I feel horrible every day, if I have to go out, I actually know how to make myself look like I'm happy and healthy. And so I can escape how I'm feeling for just the time that I'm out. And people who don't have the same skill set as me do not have that ability. And so it's even worse because you have to be outside looking like death if you feel like death.
Mm.
Um, and so when I launched the business, I knew I had to choose a positioning to kind of differentiate me. And effectively, clean beauty products were the only ones that I could use personally. And if I wanted to be hands-on clients again, that's where I had to go. And I just had to start reading the labels the same way that my sister did. And that's when I asked her lots of questions. She's absolutely not in the beauty industry. She's a midwife. And same then when I dove into histology, so the study of skin, I kind of just dove into cosmetology and I was like, oh, this is quite nice. I'm enjoying this. Let's just keep doing it. And we're here, and we're very lucky in New Zealand and Australia that there are a lot of clean beauty brands that are actually awesome in their products as well. Because in Europe there is a bit more mass production, etc. So
Mm.
it's harder. So we're quite lucky in New Zealand in that aspect.
Yeah, I'm getting more and more acquainted with a particular ingredients. Like I've used one New Zealand skincare product for many, many years. And then they've done some rebranding, and I was like, oh, let's just read the label. And then there's parfum. I'm like, oh, now I might just need to look for another one. So what are I mean, there's too many ingredients probably to list here. And if people are really interested, I noticed that you have you started a list on your website with some of the ingredients that you recommend people to avoid. But what is it that why do we as humans have to compromise? Why do we need certain ingredients? Is it to make the product in the bottle last longer? Is it to make it look better on our skin? Why do we go there? Why have they, rather, not you and me, but the industry have gone there?
Well, like I mentioned before, so this is a quote from Anna Turns, and it's every formulation is a compromise between price, effectiveness, aesthetics, performance, and ethics. And often, it's a trade-off in which the environment loses out. Um, so we've got different types of products, and the main one that is often pointed as problematic are preservatives. So what preservatives do is that they keep the product from going bad in the bottle. And with that, it kind of keeps the microbial and the bacterial growth to a minimum or non-existent. Um, and we need those. It's just that we have to be mindful as to which ones it is that we do use. And for instance, something that is in a pump bottle is gonna, depending on the ingredient in it, need less preservatives than something that you're gonna dip your finger in. Because let's face it, a lot of people forget to wash their hands before they do their skincare, and then we've got grubby hands in there. And then now fake nails are a very prominent thing in the world. And the reality is that when you've got a fake nail, often before you go and you get them changed, they kind of start lifting off, and then you've got dirt and bacteria that kind of can get trapped in between that fake nail and your actual nail. It's the same with nail polish. And so that creates a breeding ground for bacteria. And also, the longer your nail is, the more you can catch stuff on, which then end up in your skincare product. Uh, Now, companies now are often out to make a profit. And so the longer a product can last, the longer it smells nice, etc., the better it is for the company because smells, for instance, are very potent when it comes to memory triggering. And usually we get a dopamine hit when we purchase a product. So let's say you've smelled that at a store where you were shopping with your mom, with your best friend, with your husband or something, and either you buy that for yourself, your husband or partner buys that for you, and you've tried the product, you smell that, and now you've got that smell that is tied to that happy memory plus dopamine hit of getting something nice for you. And so every single time you're going to smell that, that memory is going to be brought forth. And so the smell needs to stay consistent. If a product goes off, the smell goes bad. So first ingredient to always look for is fragrance. Anything that says fragrance or perfume, that needs to go because it can be up to, from memory, 3,000 ingredients hiding under that one word. Because anything that is below a 1% concentration doesn't have to be displayed on a label, but also the big fragrance companies, the big actual Maison like Guerlain, Lancôme, and all of those, they've argued in a court of law that perfume is actually a trade secret, and thus it cannot be displayed on the packaging. And the issues that we come across with ingredients in skincare is that they can be endocrine disruptors, so they can disrupt your hormones, which is why nowadays we often see little girls having their puberty at like earlier and earlier. 8 and 9 are becoming more common than when we were young. And I mean, I got my periods when I was 12 and a half, which for somebody born in the 90s, it's already quite young. Um, and then we've got some products that are linked to so that they're tied to being carcinogenic. So meaning that they're tied to being having a risk of actually causing cancer in you. We've got obviously the skin irritant and the sensitivity, etc. For instance, people think that sensitive skin is a skin type. It isn't. Sensitive skin is not a skin type. It's a skin that has been overly sensitized, which now is really reactive, which we can soothe down. So there are many, many things to avoid. And the reality is that we're going to have to make compromises.
Mm.
Uh, First off, because some products just don't exist as in a good, great performing product and clean. Some just aren't there yet. But also because there are just some places where you need to have really good preservatives in place. Phenoxyethanol is the most commonly used preservative in personal care products. Uh, I'm sure that, but maybe not in your house, but for most people, if you go and you look at your hand soap, your shampoo, etc., I promise you one of those will have phenoxyethanol in it, unless you're very much already in that natural, clean, non-toxic. I want to call it a rabbit hole because it can be a bit of a rabbit
It
hole.
can be.
And so, for instance, if I had to choose between a foundation or a mascara with phenoxyethanol, I would choose a mascara because a mascara that has gone off, there have been cases of people going blind. And so I want to make sure that my mascara is going to stay fresh. So I'm happy to have phenoxyethanol in that. If I had to choose between a lipstick with phenoxyethanol or a mascara, I'd still go with the mascara because I'm going to eat my lipstick. That is just a fact. As women, we eat lipstick because it is on our lips. So every time we drink, every time we eat something, we eat the lipstick with it. So clean lipstick, dirty foundation, dirty mascara. Eyeshadows, I'm not too fussed about. And if I have to choose between clean skincare or clean makeup, I'm always going to go with clean skincare because
Mm.
that is actually designed to penetrate the skin. And yes, we can. I've got lots of information on my website. I've got lots of information on my Instagram account about that. I've got a freebie that's coming out soon with the top five toxic ingredients to avoid. And it's obviously something that I talk about in Bubble, my online membership, a lot. And I'm currently writing ingredient ID cards for people in Bubble so that you can kind of have, that resource accessible to go and check, oh, is that an ingredient that we say yes or no? Or is this one that I kind of like, is a yes and no depending on which situation? So that's what's going to be on there. But I'm writing them and they take a little bit of time.
Of
So
course.
it's a work in progress.
Yes, put your chemistry hat on. So
Exactly. And I get
when
to call my mom.
that's right, and do it all in French, and then you have to translate it.
No, I don't do it in French anymore. Like
No?
mom speaks and then I just
Okay.
automatically translate. But
Okay.
usually I just have to call her when something really doesn't make sense,
Mm.
or when I've kind of simplified something and I'm like, can I say it like that? Does it still make sense? And my mom was a teacher for many years, so she's a great person to ask
Oh,
that. You're
beautiful.
lucky.
So when I first came across you, so just a little bit of context, you and I are both part of a online community that another beautiful woman in New Zealand has set up. I hope to have her on the podcast one day. I haven't yet spoken to her about it, but here is a little a little invitation card. And when I first started following you, you were doing Makeup 101. You were both, if I correct me if I'm wrong, but you were doing that in person in the cocoon, but you would also do it online with people. Is that right? Or
Yes
I'm
and no, it
not
depends
quite.
what year it was.
Oh, right. Yes. But you have evolved so much in the short time that I've been following you online, and one of the latest things that you jumped into last year was what you just mentioned, bubble. So people will be walking around going, I want to do better or different because my skin is not happy. Who do I talk to? I can't afford going to my local beautician or beauty place every month, getting a really good cleanse treatment on my skin. So you've come up with meeting people where they're at and you have a community. Would you like to tell a little bit more about Bubble?
Yes, thank you. This is very much a surprise. So last year, well, actually for the past 2 years, I dabbled in online courses, and honestly, it was really hard on me to begin with. The whole launch process and having to have new people in all the time, etc., was really hard. And I think I poured over 1,500 hours of work into creating the content for my three online courses that I was doing at the time. And they really didn't go well. It took me a few months to recover from that, we're not gonna lie. And one of the biggest feedback that I got was that the price was really the issue for people. And that, so I'm a premium place. The Cocoon is a luxury. I offer luxury service at a luxurious price, because it's a European experience right here in Taranaki. And so I was like, okay, what can I do that is sustainable for my clients, that is also sustainable for me when it comes to the amount of work that I've got to pour out? Because my time is not, my time is my only finite resource. Money's always going to come back. My time, once it's gone, it's gone. So I have to be very intentional with where I spend it. And actually, I had a client who did one of my online courses who was also an embassy member who told me, why don't you have something like Patreon where people pay you every month and you share exclusive content? And I was like, yeah, I, maybe that's potentially sure. And then there was the embassy retreat at the end of March last year. And after that, I was like, okay, I cannot stay in this post failed launch for the online course funk. I got to do something. And my birthday happened, and I was like, you know what? I don't have to have all of the answers now. I get to just go for something and see where it takes me. And so in 24 hours, I created a Facebook group called Bubble, and I created a payment link. And I sent a message to that one client who said, you should do this. And I was like, I listened. Here is the link. Would you like to join? And she did. And so last year I was kind of figuring out where I wanted to take bubble because it's all well and good to have an offer, but you have to have intention behind it. And then I started thinking, what would be more beneficial? What is my mission on this earth? Like, what do I live and breathe for? What do I bring to every single one of my client? And for me, that was evidence and science-backed education on skin and skincare and makeup. It is natural looking makeup because what you see on social media really is unachievable for most women on the daily. And also, um, a lot of what we see nowadays are actually drag queen techniques. I love them on a man. As women, as female-born people, we have female feminine features that we get to enhance rather than create completely different ones over us and then look like a different person. But most importantly, because I was so not confident as a child, because I was bullied for so many years, I felt profoundly worthless when I was a child and when I was a teenager. And so I wanted to bring people into your beauty is yours, it's innate. And you just have to figure out what beauty looks like for you, and nobody else can dictate that for you. No matter what society we live in, no matter what patriarchy says, your beauty is your own, and you get to be confident, you get to shine as who you are. And so that's what Bubble is for. And so now I go live every week in Bubble to talk about confidence, skincare, makeup. And kind of whatever comes from the universe, whichever download I get from the universe at that time. There are also obviously extra resources. I've got guests coming regularly. There are workshops. Now there are three tiers to Bubbles, so that there's still a very affordable one at $57 a month, which for a lot of people that's still achievable. And with the amount of work that I pour in this, it's 100% a steal. And then we dive into more closer proximity. So with the workshops, with extra bonuses, extra workshops, and more guidance, etc. And then the price kind of goes up. And the third tier is for that hasn't launched yet. You're the first one to know. That one is specifically for high achieving women, whether they own a business or whether, you know, they are in high stress jobs, such as a medical field or maybe a lawyer. Maybe one day I'll have an astronaut. I don't know. We're going to manifest an astronaut. And that tier is all around self-care because self-care requires a strategy and an intention, and so does the confidence. And how do you still make time for your self-care with intention and strategy when you're potentially so poor on time, or when you actually have no clue what self-care is and you were just taught that self-care is a glass of wine and a bubble bath, because there's a lot more to self-care than just that. So that is that tier. So the three tiers are sweet, sacred, soul. Those are the three tiers in the bubble. And I'm just in love with what I'm creating right now. And now we've got a bubble library because organizing information in a Facebook group is horrible. So I have a separate platform for all of the educational content, but the community is still on Facebook because realistically, you know, you and I were both on Facebook potentially every single evening after a bit of after our kids go to bed. And so I kind of wanted again to meet my audience where they're at, and they are on Facebook. They're not on a different platform. So there you go. That is the story of Bubble.
I'm so happy we went there because you know you were excited when you spoke about the what if life when you were still back in Europe. But this, you know, you even said this is my passion, and this is what Soul to Soul is about. It is talking to everyday people, highlighting their passion and hopefully igniting the passion into others, because we all have a story to tell, right? We all have something that we love so much, whether it is baking for fundraisers, whether it is establishing an online community, either to do with self-care or beauty, or creating a community of like-minded women like Embassy, like Em has done. And so thank you for really deep diving into that. And it's leading us into One of the things that I've wanted to ask you, which is, you are a mum like myself, you've moved to a new country. As much as we love New Zealand, I moved with my parents, and I'm very grateful that my mum lives, very close to me. But your family's on the other side of the world. You have started your own business. You'll be dealing with cultural things. The language, your English is really good, but in the beginning when I came here, I couldn't quite find expressions that I wanted to say in English. So there's a lot of ups and downs in life. And you've mentioned postnatal depression, which I have suffered from as well. And I think there might be a lot of mums out there that just it hasn't had the sticker on it, right? But if you've had a period in your life where sleep was poor, you were crying, is it because you're overtired or is it because you have anxiety, right? So what kind of led you down the path of really knowing that phrase that they say in the airplane, put your own oxygen mask on first before you tend to your little person? How has self-care become so important in your life that you now are able to share your wisdom with other people?
Have you heard of human design?
I have.
So I am a generator, um, which means that when something lights me on fire, I'm gonna give it my all. And as a teenager, you have very little responsibilities in life. So all of your energy can be funneled into your passion or into partying or whatever. Like, I don't even know how I survived my seventh form. I think I was sleeping maybe half an hour a night. And I had mastered micro naps, standing up with my head on the wall, waiting for the teacher to come in because it was working, I was partying. It was a blast, but oh my God, how did I survive? And then in makeup school, it started to be really, really difficult. I think I had anxiety my entire life. I just didn't know that I had anxiety. And when I was in makeup school, my days were 18-hour long because I was in the car at 5:45 in the morning to drive 120 kilometers. And it was also when there were all of the events in Europe that meant to having the borders closed. And so the borders were closed. So I was losing a big chunk of time at the border to be able to cross that border, etc. And I was taking natural stress and anxiety medication at the time. And eventually my dosage upped to 6 or 7 a day. And then when I stopped makeup school, I had to be weaned from those. And then 7 months after that, so 7 months after I finished school, we moved to New Zealand, and 3 months after I got pregnant. So it was all very much in a close pocket of time. I had hyperemesis when I was pregnant, so that's when you cannot stop puking. So I was sick for 22 weeks, had to quit my job, and I was just withering away on a couch. Like the couch was so uncomfortable, and I was spending so long on the couch that we ended up changing our couch. That is how bad it was. And then honestly, I just drowned into motherhood. My son was born. He was nursing every 20 minutes during the day, and he was nursing every 45 minutes at night. He has lip and tongue ties that were never diagnosed. And I had a look recently actually at my risk of postpartum depression or perinatal depression. I think I was at 87% or something like that, because expats are a lot more likely to get postpartum depression. First-time moms are a lot likely to get that. People who have had a difficult pregnancy are more likely to do that. People who've had early childhood sexual abuse are a lot likely to get that. And I was ticking all of those boxes, right? And so I was like, holy moly. I think I looked at that 9 months ago, something like that. Um, and there was a day where so I applied for a job when my son was 4 months old, because in Belgium, people go back to work when the child is 3 months old. I didn't even get a call back, which now knowing what I know about New Zealand made total sense that they didn't give me a call back. But I had gone to the family center at the time to get some help because I just wasn't coping. And I was told that they would look after my baby and I could have a nap. And I was like, I just want a nap. I want 2 hours of sleep solid. Eventually that turned into trying to spread out the feeds and have my son on a bottle and blah, blah, blah. And I was driving around to try and have my son sleep, and they had me try to get him hungry so he would take a bottle and everything. And I was driving around, and I remember thinking, if I drove into a tree, would anybody miss me? And then I was like, hang on, hang on. I got dreams. I got passions. Why am I considering driving into a tree? Why am I considering why am I having these thoughts when my son is in the car? I learned later that that is what is called an intrusive thought. I didn't know it at the time. And then I got home and I was like, okay, I'm not happy right now. So what would make me happy? And then we started talking about what I call the bare functioning minimum of a human being. And that looks different for everybody. And we realized with my husband that for me, that was being able to pee alone in the morning without having a child on my boob, being able to have a shower in the morning uninterrupted without having to, having your son on the bathroom mat in his bouncer shrieking at you so that you actually have to step out of the shower and shove a boob in his mouth when you've got like shampoo in your hair. Maybe it's just me that's done that, but I'm hoping this is relatable to other people because that is true story. And that I wanted to drink my tea hot in the morning. Like those were my three things that I needed to feel like a functioning human being. So we sat down and we're like, okay, how can we make that happen? How can we make you feel like a human and not just a cow? Because, breastfeeding every 20 minutes is, yeah.
Yeah,
And then, I was nap trapped because he would only sleep on me with my nipple in his mouth. I love my son and I would go through all of that absolutely again. N- Being as educated as I am now, would I change a few things? Shit, yes. Am I allowed to swear on this?
sure.
Uh, and and so then we figured that out. So I would get up at the same time as my husband, have my shower whilst he looked after our son. We got me a takeaway cup so that my tea could stay hot. And we managed to have me pee for 5 minutes. Well, be alone in the bathroom for 5 minutes. And I felt like a whole human being. And then I was like, I'm onto something here. And then we worked through that, and I was had for a little while. I was having one bath a week, where my husband was like on call, no headphones, no anything. So if her son woke up, he was on call, no matter that he had useless nipples and he couldn't breastfeed. He was going to deal with it until I was ready to hop out of the bath. And then slowly but surely, we kind of implemented me a little bit more. And the more I looked after me, the less I resented my son. And the less I was craving sleep. I mean, I was still craving sleep because it's a foundation, right? But the less I had that anger when he would latch on, which I found out later is called the red reflex for the mom. And yeah, the more I looked after me, the more I could actually fall in love with my son. Because when they say that you fall in love the first time that you look into your son's eye or your child's eye, that did not happen for me. Um, I was in labor for a long time. I was very exhausted. Maybe that's why. But yeah, motherhood was very much, honestly, the hardest thing I've had to go through. But it made me such a more beautiful human on the other end. And it got me to discover so much about the power of women when we go through the portal that birth and motherhood is, and how when you think you have all the answers before you're a mom, when you're an adult, actually you just know jack shit. And I'm not saying that all women have to become mothers, absolutely not, because it has to be the right fit for you. But I know that it was desperately needed for me to heal all that I was still carrying that I thought had been healed before, which is why it was so hard. And then we moved from Hamilton to Taranaki. We were alone all over again, and I was launching a business. And business is the second hardest thing I've ever done, just second to motherhood. And when I look at how much I juggle now, I would absolutely not be able to do that if I didn't have a self-care strategy that was the right fit for me. And some people are morning person and some people need to go rock climbing, etc. Or some people love going camping and that is how they commute with nature. Oh my God, do not take me camping. That is not the right fit for me. Um, and so, when I launched the business, it was really, really hard. The renovations for the cocoon, which were so worth it, but they took 5 times longer than the time that had been announced. And we ended up being at 250% of the budget. So, there was some anxiety attacks and hyperventilating in a paper bag and all of that. And something had to change. And so I found my way to breath works and then to movement and then to meditation. And then I was like, actually, a bath is just like a bath doesn't really do much for me. And there are so many other things that even science says is a lot more efficient for your nervous system. And I got kind of curious about what anxiety is when I was diagnosed with high functioning anxiety and put on antidepressants, not natural, by the way. Um, and then my brain got super quiet. I was like, I'm losing my edge. This is not for me. And so, yeah, it's just one thing kind of led to another. And I figured that the more I look after me, the better of a mom I am. And I want to be the best mom that I can be. That was the way shorter answer.
But it's
Sorry.
so important because we talk, we hear here in New Zealand there's Gumboot Friday and mental health, and we throw in these terms left, right, and center like it's willy-nilly. I found when I had postnatal depression and I actually announced it to a very small group that I had, they kind of went, "Oh, give me a call when you need me." But I didn't have the mental capacity to call them when I needed them. I just needed someone to go, here is a breath work, or here, come to the sauna. I love saunas and I haven't been in a long time, but I needed people to take my hand and take me with. And I guess by the you and I's talking openly about some of the coping mechanisms that we dealt with at that time and things that we do now, like for me, co-parenting is the hardest thing, not seeing my children for an extended period. Well, it's not an extended, but for numerous days. But it also gives me the ability to recharge, to not wake up with a child at 5 o'clock in the morning going, I'm hungry now, to having tantrums that children do at all ages. And it's giving me just that pause. For me, it's meditation. I wake up every morning now at 5:30 and I do anywhere between 35 to 55-minute meditation to just quiet this. I know that you drink ceremonial cacao and you've got a beautiful um, ceremony every morning where you make that and you're intentional. And so I think it is beautiful that you are creating different tiers for women to participate in what you have to offer. I've said this to you many times. You are an inspiration to me. I have many goals that I want to do. I don't just have this Soul2Soul podcast. I also have plans to really dive into doing energy healing with people. So you are an inspiration to me. We have been talking already for a little while, and I know that we could talk for many, many more minutes. So for people that you have hit their chords, how can people get in touch if they are not in Taranaki or New Plymouth? What have you got to offer for them? And what is, I guess, your parting message with the people that are listening or watching this?
Mm. So if you want to find me, that's actually very reason that's very easy. So on Instagram and Facebook, I'm at Clean Beauty with Amelie. there's a dot before and after the with, so at cleanbeauty.with.amelie. My website is Amelie's, AMELIES.co.nz. So if you know my name, you can find me. Just typing my name in New Plymouth in Google will lead you to me. If you're not local to Taranaki and you would like to work with me, there are many, many ways that we can do that. If you need skincare support, I do have an online Skin 101 that is available, which takes place over 3 sessions. And we do a skin analysis for you, and then I walk you through how to read labels, face massage, face tools to kind of make you be able to make effortless decisions when you're faced with an ad on social media, basically. And I also recommend products, obviously. And then there is, like I mentioned, Bubble, which is my pride and joy. This is where a lot of my energy is going to go this year. And with Bubble, you get also access to close friend stories. I'm on stories daily on social media. And with Bubble, you get access to close friend stories where you've got a lot more behind the scenes of what it is that I'm working on, how I'm doing it. Maybe, for instance, I had a very complicated situation with a client a couple of weeks ago, and I had to coach myself through something, which was all about upholding my boundaries. And I shared literally me crying and coaching myself through, upholding my boundaries doesn't make me a horrible person. And I was like, and again, and I just kept repeating it, but I was like, we're talking like full blown sobbing. All of that happens in close friend stories. I just really love what I do. And even if you just want to hit me in my DMs, I'm very reactive, but do not send me an email. I am in DMs. Do not send me an email. And hopefully, if you're watching this, because I think this is going to be hosted on YouTube, you're on a social media already. So hopefully, you're going to be on Instagram or Facebook. And my parting message for you today is what I actually say to every single client at the threshold of the cocoon. It is written under the floor. I wrote affirmations on the floor before the flooring went in. And it is that you're strong, you're beautiful, you're loved, and you're enough.
I love that. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to have this conversation with you. It's such a bummer that New Plymouth is so close yet so far away. It's multiple flights for me to come to you. But one day, when I make my way back to New Plymouth, I am booking in to see you at the Cocoon and receive a treatment there. For those people watching on YouTube, it will be hosted on Spotify as well if you want to listen on the go. I will post Amelie's links in the description, and you are loved, you are worthy. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Until next time.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a beautiful day.